In the small town of Ravenswood, nestled in the heart of the Whispering Woods, there stood a hill shrouded in mystery and terror. They called it Dead Man's Hill, a place where the living were not welcome. The story went that if you drove to the top of the hill at midnight, with your headlights off, you'd see the ghostly figure of a man hanging from a tree. Some said he was a former mayor, disgraced and doomed to roam the earth. Others claimed he was a victim of a lynching, his spirit seeking justice. The origins of the legend were murky, with old newspaper clippings and historical records hinting at a dark past. Townsfolk whispered about the hill in hushed tones, passing down the tale through generations. On nights when the moon was full, the hill seemed to come alive with an eerie glow. Shadows moved on the hill, and some claimed to see mysterious figures lurking in the darkness. The wind would howl through the trees, and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread. One dark and stormy night, a group of brave teenagers decided to test the legend. They arrived at the hill, laughing and joking, but their merriment soon turned to terror. As they reached the top, a figure materialized before them, swaying in the wind. The teens froze, paralyzed with fear until the ghost vanished into thin air. From that day on, the teens avoided Dead Man's Hill, whispering tales of the encounter to anyone who would listen. Around campfires, they recounted their harrowing experience, each time adding new details to the story. The fear in their eyes was genuine, and their memories of that night haunted them for years. Local news even picked up the story with eerie headlines warning others to stay away from the hill. Parents warned their children, and the legend of Dead Man's Hill grew even more ominous. The wind would howl through the trees, and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old, forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread. The legend grew, and the hill became a place of dark pilgrimage, attracting thrill-seekers and ghost hunters. Years passed, and the legend of Dead Man's Hill spread far and wide. People claimed to see the ghostly figure, and some even reported finding strange objects at the top of the hill. A broken watch, a torn piece of fabric, a silver locket with a photo of a man who looked uncannily like the ghost. Paranormal investigators flocked to the site, armed with equipment to capture evidence of the supernatural. They recorded eerie voices and strange phenomena, adding to the hill's mystique. Documentaries were made and film crews braved the hill's eerie atmosphere to capture its haunting beauty. Tourists began to visit, taking eerie souvenirs and sharing their own ghostly encounters. The wind would howl through the trees and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread. One stormy night, a young journalist named Sarah decided to investigate. She drove to the top of the hill, her heart pounding in her chest. As she reached the summit, a figure materialized before her, just like in the stories. But Sarah didn't flee. Instead, she approached the ghost, her eyes fixed on its face, and in that moment she felt a strange connection, as if she knew the ghost from somewhere. Sarah's determination grew, and she vowed to uncover the truth behind the legend. She spent days researching old archives and historical records, piecing together the ghost story. Her investigation led to hidden secrets and eerie revelations that had been buried for decades. The wind would howl through the trees, and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old, forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread. The ghost began to speak, its voice barely audible over the wind. "I am John," it said. "I was wrongly accused and lynched by a mob. My spirit has been trapped here for decades seeking justice." Sarah listened intently, her heart aching for the tormented spirit. John recounted the events leading to his death, painting a vivid picture of the injustice he suffered. An angry mob had accused him of a crime he didn't commit, and in their rage, they took his life. The sorrow in John's voice was palpable, and Sarah felt a deep empathy for his plight. He was bound to the hill, unable to move on until his name was cleared and justice was served. Sarah's resolve hardened, and she knew she had to help John find peace. The wind would howl through the trees and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread. Sarah listened, entranced, as John told his story. She knew she had to help him. Together, they uncovered the truth behind John's death, and the real culprit was brought to justice. Finally, John's spirit was free. As Sarah watched, the ghost vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a small note with a message. "Thank you, Sarah. Rest in peace." As Sarah drove away from Dead Man's Hill, she felt a sense of pride and closure. She had helped a lost soul find peace. As she reflected on the experience, she realized the impact of her actions. The wind would howl through the trees and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old, forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread. But as she looked in her rearview mirror, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The ghostly figure of John was standing in the back seat of her car, his eyes fixed on hers. Sarah screamed and swerved off the road, but when she turned around, John was gone. The next day, Sarah received a package in the mail. Inside, she found the silver locket that John had left behind, with a note that read, "You freed me, but now you're mine." Sarah's heart raced as she realized the gravity of the situation. The locket glowed with an eerie light, and she felt a chill run down her spine. The wind would howl through the trees, and the leaves would rustle as if whispering secrets. At the base of the hill, an old forgotten cemetery added to the chilling atmosphere. As the fog rolled in, the hill would disappear into a misty landscape, heightening the sense of dread.